Hello and welcome to a new episode of Airport CEO here on BongoPlanes, where we are continuing with our project of replicating Copenhagen Airport. We still have a few things to do in Terminal 2 and 3, so we can improve operations and hopefully one day achieve our 5-star rating and of course also at some point conclude this project. As always, before we get too far into today's episode, if you should end up enjoying this video, then don't forget to leave a like, that would be very much appreciated. And of course, if you are new around here, why not hit subscribe? That would be absolutely awesome. Alright, so our main focus today in this episode will of course be to further improve our terminals so that we can improve our ratings and then hopefully one day get this 5-star rating. But while I'm doing this, I quickly want to address last week's episode, where I spent a lot of time analyzing the airport to see where we had issues. And one of our core issues is of course with the luggage. We do get rather odd ratings with that. But let's quickly remind ourselves what I was saying there exactly. Then we have the baggage loaded on aircraft, which just again dropped to a catastrophic 0%. I can't honestly speaking believe that 0% of the luggage is reaching the aircraft. That just doesn't make any sense, because we have luggage going through our system here. We have luggage reaching the baggage belts, and we have an operational airport. So I really cannot see how this should be possible. So yeah, I have once again been a massive idiot. Don't you just love it when that happens? I had obviously fixed the baggage scanners for Terminal 2 and had then completely forgotten that I of course also have baggage scanners over at Terminal 3. So yeah, I have fixed that, which has helped us out with our ratings. They do still fluctuate a bit, but they're definitely better than they were before. So yeah, I wonder if it's that kind of stuff that happened at Berlin Airport. But let's get back to our task at hand. We still have a few things here we need to improve. So as we can see, security is quite busy. Now, right now we have a rush of aircraft coming in, so that explains why it is so busy. Obviously we need to open the last security check, and I might even want to open the extra ones we have built but hidden away for the moment. But one thing I definitely want to do, because I do think we have some issues with that, is actually to build a separate security entrance only for staff, because I think at the moment we have an issue where staff is simply stuck in the security checks with all the passengers, which delays their arrival to their whatever their destination is, wherever they have a task to complete, whether it is in shops or it could even be, for example, passenger service agents and stuff like that. So to avoid that, I think it is prudent to add some of these separate entrances for staff. We've done it over Terminal 2, and we will also have it here at Terminal 3, where they then basically will just go through the staff room here. It's maybe not the most elegant thing, but we don't really have any other good access points. So I think we will solve this little issue like this. And I think it will work just fine. Staff is anyway coming up here, and then they can just skip the queue so they don't get stuck with the passengers. Another issue we of course had identified in last episode was that passengers really wanted to have more places where they could rest, so more seating arrangements, which is something we kind of have neglected on purpose, given that Copenhagen Airport doesn't really offer that much of it other than at the gates. But it is something that we need to look into, and this is why I have spent a bit of time to actually add more seating arrangements across the terminal, right now here at the baggage reclaim areas, but I have done so also across the terminal. Then another thing I have been working on in our quest to complete Terminals 2 and 3 and to get our 5-star rating is actually working on the land side. And strictly speaking, I'm not sure this actually matters for any kind of rating, but of course it does look nice, and it is also just an essential feature for the land side, and that is actually adding some lighting out there, because it is rather dark, as you can see. So we definitely needed to add some light poles there, so that, I mean, one, we can get a nice look here at the airport, but also that the passengers can actually see where they're walking when they arrive here at the airport when it is still dark outside. So we've been working on that both at Terminal 3, but of course also over at Terminal 2, where we also needed to add quite a few light poles across this whole landside area so that we could ensure that everything is nicely illuminated. And as I mentioned, I'm not sure this will play into any rating of the airport, but I guess it cannot hurt. So one thing I have also added here is actually some of these bus shelters. The game or the passengers never seem to really use them, but I figured that at the very least it could perhaps be rated as decoration by the game, and then it should be going into the overall rating of passengers, how they conceive the terminal to be. This should go into the quality rating, I guess, if it works. But if not, then at least it looks nicer outside, and it doesn't really hurt us. Then I had another project over at Terminal 2, because obviously we have quite a few lounges across the airport, but we actually didn't have too many at Terminal 2, and especially around A concourse. So I have, over the last few days or weeks, depending on when you're watching this, worked on a kind of a schedule for our airport. So basically what I've been doing is I have been looking at all the airlines we have signed so far, and I've tried to split them up and see from which concourse they mainly will be operating. So for example, for Concourse A, we have Scandinavian Airlines. Now they are of course operating all over the airports, also all the other concourses, but they will also come into Concourse A. And other airlines that mainly will be operating out of Concourse A are, for example, then Swiss, Sunclass, Lufthansa, KLM Cityhopper, Helvetic, Great Dane, Finnair, Danish Air Transport, BA City Flyer, Austrian Airlines, Atlantic Airways, LC Express, Air Baltic and Air France. And so far we barely have any lounges at Concourse A, so that's something I wanted to change. Now we don't have much space over at Concourse A. We could of course just go underground and add lounges there, but I mean it's a bit sad to have a lounge underground, a completely closed off room, no windows whatsoever. I'm not a big fan of that. So I decided to add some lounges on ground floor level here at our furthest pier of Concourse A. And as I mentioned, I've kind of made this schedule where I have basically split up all the airlines that we have signed and delegated them to a specific concourse. This is something I'm adding into the flight plan manually. And the way I'm doing it is basically I'm trying to add these airlines specifically to a specific concourse. Unless I don't have any slots left anymore, then I will divert them basically to a different concourse, so that we can still fulfill all the offers we are getting in. But it will mean that the majority of flights will be handled from a specific concourse, which means at this concourse I will try to then also have a lounge for the specific airlines, or at least for as many as possible. And that should then, for example, ensure that the passengers, when they're flying with a specific airline, that their lounge isn't too far away from where they actually will have their flight. And then with introducing this schedule, I have also rearranged all the lounges throughout the airport so that they are occupied by corresponding airlines. Alright, so the next thing I would like to start working on at least is actually C concourse over at Terminal 3, because for some reason I have been doing all this work and never really completed C concourse. I think it's actually one of the concourses that had operations going on the earliest in the series, but we never really fully completed it. We just made sure that it could handle flights, and that was it. And that of course also doesn't help our rating, because I mean, for example, we have barely any shops here or anything that really, I mean, we have seating arrangements and that's it. I think passengers want a little bit more. So we have some space here where we are adding a restaurant. That's fairly simply done because we can just copy paste the layout here, but it should work fairly nicely here. Then we have the space around here, which we could maybe be a little bit more creative with. Now, I've made some of these more elaborate seating arrangements across the terminal, and I think this is what I want to do here as well, because it looks nice in my opinion, and hopefully this will also again improve the rating by passengers. They might also think it looks nice, and it should hopefully improve the rating when it comes to the quality of the terminal building. Now, one thing I've noticed now here, being a little bit closer here at Sea Concourse and spending a bit of time with it, is how filthy it is here. It's extremely filthy. I don't think it is so filthy at any other parts of the airport, at least I have never noticed it, but this is extreme. And I mean, we are constantly hiring janitors, so yeah, I'm not sure why this part is so filthy, because we have trash cans. It's not like we haven't got any trash cans around this terminal. But this part is filthy, so hopefully this is also something we can improve. And then one thing I decided to do here as well is actually to add some walker-laters. Now, strictly speaking, I don't think this does actually exist at this part of the terminal, but you can see how busy it is, how many passengers are walking around here. This is quite crazy. So I think, again, to help ourselves out and maybe not have these extremely terrible ratings per passengers, and just to help them out a little bit, a few walker-laters here and there where there is actually space for it, I think it could be nice. Alright, so while I continue my work here on Sea Concourse, I think it is time to end today's episode. It might be a bit of a shorter episode today, which is kind of funny because I've actually spent quite a lot of time recording this episode, because all the tasks we have done today have actually been rather time consuming. But that of course is none of your concern. It will just perhaps be a little bit shorter this week, but nonetheless, we have actually achieved quite a lot today, which I'm really happy about, and we will continue with this process next episode. And the goal is of course to complete terminals 2 and 3, and then we need to make a decision whether we continue the series or if we call it a day, because you guys are watching, and the people who are watching do seem to enjoy it, but they are less and less, so the enthusiasm for the series does seem to fade away at the moment. This is totally fine. If that's the case, then there might be perhaps other projects where I could spend some time on that would be to the benefit of you and the channel. But this is a decision to be made a little bit later down the line, because if we have finished terminals 2 and 3, we will basically have recreated Copenhagen Airport as it is today, because terminal 1 technically doesn't exist at the moment. But we could of course try to build a terminal 1. That would then be completely up to us how we would like to build that. But as I say, that is a decision to be made a little bit later down the line. For now, I would like to end today's episode. So if you have enjoyed this video, then don't forget to leave a like. That really does help out the series. And of course, if you are new around here, why not hit subscribe? With that, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you soon again. I'm checking out, and bye.